Hello, Phoenix is rising, and so are we. Everyone, welcome into the PHNX Rise podcast. Appreciate everyone joining us here on a Tuesday. Little 5 p.m. action going for you. It is 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5 o'clock right here. We got everyone in the house. I am Max Simpson, joined by Mr. Owen Evans as usual. And of course, there's a third member here. Do have team president, Mr. Bobby Dulle in the house. Bobby, how we doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. It's good to have you. I was gonna say, we know we chatted. We've had you on the pod before, but this is live in person in studio.
I love the studio. The digs are great.
We like the digs, man.
It's good.
Little Easter egg for people in front. A little bit of the updated crests, little magnets with the star on top. We like to see that.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Important piece.
I was gonna say, gotta put that.
It is important.
Gotta put that on the fridge, man.
Yeah.
Gotta put it on the beer fridge. Well, we like that, man. I mean, I was gonna say, I know we chatted a bit, but for everyone kind of watching along, right? We're definitely gonna kind of hit a lot of different subjects. Really, we're gonna kind of take it like looking out, kind of talking about some things at the club, kind of talking a bit about your career and really what people can look forward to. So we're gonna kind of run the whole gamut. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time, man. We definitely want to start off with, because when I hear what a team president is, I don't know what that is, right? We're on a podcast. We don't know what a team president does. Can you please describe, for whether people have been season ticket holders for a while or they're new Phoenix Rising fans, what is a typical day-to-day, and maybe there is not a typical day-to-day for you?
No, I think that's probably the latter.
Yeah.
For me, I'm fortunate to be in this position, and I get to have my hands in everything, on the business side of things as well as on the sporting side of things, and no 2 days are the same. It's pretty hectic. I could jump from a conversation with an agent negotiating a contract for a player to talking about ticketing or food and beverage specials, or meeting with representatives from our youth club. So every day is a bit different, but ultimately have a really good staff in the front office. Obviously, a good staff on the technical side of things. Working with the ownership group, obviously, trying to drive some initiatives that are important to the ownership group. So really, just kind of be the connector, kind of keep people going each and every day, trying to motivate people, trying to make sure that we're always trying to learn, always trying to get better, challenging each other. And for me, it's been a lot of fun over the last 8 years being here and seeing where this club was when I joined to where it is now, and ultimately trying to do our fans proud each and every day, and set a really high standard both on and off the field. We're going to get some things wrong along the way. We have gotten some things wrong along the way, but ultimately, I care so deeply about this club and the success of this club, and very passionate. My family's all in on this. You guys have probably seen my wife and kids quite a bit. I'm out there as well. So this club means everything to me. And, for me to be able to work in soccer, which is a sport I played growing up, and get to do it here in Arizona with great fans and a market that is growing, and an organization that continues to grow. It's really exciting for me.
That's awesome, man. Well, and it's definitely a lot of hats for sure. No day is the same, as you're kind of alluding to. I mean, in your career path with the club, right? We know that, moving up from the GM role into, this president role, it sounds like, right, you're interacting with everyone, you're kind of touching all the different departments. What was that shift like for you of hey, going from that GM role to the presidency role? And how do you kind of balance the on-field versus the off-field, what you have to deal with?
Yeah, it's a good question. And to be honest, a lot didn't change from the GM role. I mean, we didn't have a president before. I assumed the role officially. I was still involved in the business side of things as well as the sporting side of things. And I think, on the sporting side of things, I think that's what gets people excited. That's, what everyone's talking about. It's what owners want to hear about. It's what's going on the field. On that side of things, it's always been very collaborative in nature. Even going all the way back to my days working with Frank Yallop, and I was a COO at that time. It's still making sure that, putting the pieces around it, trying to be a step ahead on infrastructure, trying to build and add processes, making sure that we're doing that correctly. So I think for us, as long as there's collaboration, it's never just one voice coming and saying, this is who we got to sign, this is what we have to do, this is the food and beverage special we have to run. It's always kind of bouncing through things and looking at the pros and cons, and ultimately, obviously, there's some decisions that have to be made. But I would say this whole thing has been collaborative from ownership on down.
Nice. Obviously, you mentioned there's some of the sporting side and the recruitment and it being this collaborative process. I know we spoke about, must be about 4 years ago now, about how your team will go about recruiting people, recruiting players. How over these past few years has that process changed?
Yeah, no, it's a good question, and I think we have to continue to evolve. I think people always ask, going back a few years with Didier Drogba, what I think Didier Drogba did for us is he fast-tracked our organization from a professionalism standpoint. And I remember, early on, and I just would listen with him around and hearing him talk about how to travel, how, meals that we should be providing on a daily basis, what the hotels look like, all those little details. I was constantly trying to listen and learn, and it helped us, I would say, kind of set the bar a little bit across the league. And now you're starting to see more and more league teams across the league, which is great. Staying in better hotels, they're feeding their players on a daily basis. Those things used to be a unique differentiator for us as an organization. So when you're looking at what Phoenix Rising has to offer, we have to continue to push and push and push, and that means adding things. So the sporting department now, you look at Brandon McCarthy, obviously an owner, investor in the team, but someone, since his playing days have passed, he's really rolled his sleeves up and been involved. I would say it's been about 18 months or so. And the knowledge that he brings and the experience that he brings from a sporting infrastructure standpoint, from the processes, whether it's baseball, playing, or in the front offices for him, it's a different sport, right? Things are a little bit different, but having him help us, we now have an analyst on board, and we now have a scout on board. And so you start building those things to be a little bit more insulated. So when there is change, like there was this past offseason, there's more things in place that we can keep things going, right? So I think for us, we want to continue to be at the forefront, definitely within our league, and operate at a really high level and keep pushing the envelope. I mean, you look at some of the players we brought in or the players we've moved on. It's very important for us to continue to evolve, right? The sport is evolving. The sporting operation is evolving. The league is evolving. All those things are happening at a really fast rate. And we have to make sure that we're right at the front of all of those things, and keep pushing. And that's what I think is really cool about our organization, is that we have ownership group that's receptive to that. And when we go with an ask, as long as there's a why, it at least gives an opportunity to evaluate and say, does this look like something we should do? And so I think continuing to build the club out is something that really excites me, and something that we'll continue to try to do each and every year.
Definitely. I mean, you mentioned, right, it's trying to stay ahead of the game. I mean, it's on field, off field, it's easier said than done for any club. I mean, especially for you guys, right? Like it's quite the offseason you guys had of, like, you win the whole thing, USL champions, and lots of new players signing. There's a lot of excitement. It was definitely, right, had to be a bit of a curveball of, right, Juan, leading the team, then takes the job with Houston Dynamo. Talk us through that process of, like, what that looked like, the recruitment of interviewing other head coaches, and then ultimately landing on Danny Stone from an internal perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we hired Juan Guerra, away from Oakland, and I know there was some negative feedback on that process, but Juan and I are very close. We remain very close. I know he's kicking off right now, in his first game as an assistant with Dynamo in St. Louis. We talk a lot, and so, in fact, after the season was over, I mean, Juan, myself, Brandon, on the sporting side of things, we see or talk to each other. We saw or talk to each other every day, multiple times, and so we knew each other really well. We Juan and myself, very aspirational. We want to push, be the best. challenge each other. I think that was the best part about our relationship, is there was a tremendous amount of respect, but also, in a way that we could challenge, and we did that. And so the season ends. Obviously, it was hectic the last 4 weeks of the season, and crazy, and ended obviously with a star on the top of the crest, which was awesome. We quickly, I don't think it was a matter of days that we were, sitting down and going through things. And then I think within a week we were over in Europe together, right? So a lot of the players that you see on this roster, as we do in our player recruitment process, our coach has the final word on the player. Obviously, we're working through the budget. We're working through, agents, working through fits and filters before it even gets to our head coaches to make sure that they can be efficient, right, respectful of their time. And so Juan played a big role in the roster. And, in fact, that's when we were over in Italy and in the UK doing some things, and signing Julio at that time is where we went and saw him with Juve. So we knew, I knew Juan was getting some interest, and clubs reach out and ask for permission. And of course, as has happened in the past, we grant that permission. We don't want to stand in the way of any opportunities that someone wants to pursue. And this was no different. So Juan was very transparent in the process. And as we started going through this, it was like, hey, getting closer to Christmas time, is this getting real, Juan? Like, is this happening? And as it ultimately went, he made the decision, and so supportive of Juan, and so happy, for him and his family, and wish him nothing but the best. And that was, of course, you always, have a list of candidates. You're always trying to be prepared if you ever have to be in that moment. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing my job. So as we went through that process, there was tons of inbound, as you can imagine, from coaches that are currently coaching, to agents, to people making referrals. And so it was a lot coming at us, and even asking Juan, right, and gathering that feedback. Again, every decision is very collective by nature, which we try to do. And so as we went through candidates and looked at resumes and received phone calls and talked to them, obviously Danny Stone was someone that was right at the top of our mind from the jump. And so that process played out, and we narrowed it down and really went through an exhaustive process. Brought a candidate in as well, and spent a lot of time with that candidate, spent a lot of time with Danny, and ultimately, what we realized, what I think you guys are our fans are seeing now is Danny Stone, the head coach. And I think what makes Danny so good is he's the consummate professional. I mean, he is so professional, and I think that was, just being really transparent with you guys, one of those things. He was such a good assistant coach. He was serving Juan, he was serving the organization, serving the team. So you didn't see some of the things that you see in head coach candidates, right, that you're around, because he was so committed to his craft and so professional that's what we wanted to see during the interview process with Danny. And you saw that come out of him. You saw him sit a little differently in the chair. You saw him have a different tone, some different inflections in his voice. He wanted it so badly. You could see that passion that you knew would translate into, coach talks, motivating the players, right, bringing the group together. Obviously, there was no one better that knew the existing roster, that knew the club, knew the culture. So he was going to make it really difficult for anyone else to come in here and win the job. And then when you go through the process and you see what he does and his connectivity and how prepared he was, and in fact, we even had, our coach, a couple of the candidates, including Danny, meet with other departments within the organization, and did that because this job as a manager is far more than, coaching, right? It's meeting with the media, it's meeting with sponsors, it's meeting with the ownership group, it's making sure that yet players are doing, behaving on social media, or doing corporate appearances, or being out in the community, and understanding the bigger picture. This organization is bigger than just, on the field. And that was important to us. So ultimately I couldn't be more excited and more confident in the decision that we made as an organization to move forward with Danny. And I know he's ready, and I think you'll see his touches pretty quickly on the team and some different things. And I think the support of the players, the support of the front office, support of the ownership group, ultimately he was the guy to lead us. And I'm confident that he could take us to new heights.
So as you look now, following up a title-winning season last year, of course, what are the minimum expectations that the club are putting out for Danny this year?
I mean, it's no different than it has been from before, right? It sounds cliche, but we want to win. We want to win, and we want to do it at home. We want to have more consistency. I think that's one thing that we've really looked at is how can we be more consistent. You look at how last year and the ebb and flow, and that was a product of a lot of new players, a new system. But ultimately, this league is getting better each and every year. You look around at the signings around the league, you see the coaches that are now in this league, you see the facilities that are coming in this league. The level is getting better each and every year. We have to continue to raise it. So, and as you know, even before we won, I feel like we always took everyone's best shot, and that's because of the players and the coaches and the staff that have been here before here to set the standard. So, it's a competitive environment, and we want to make sure that we have some more consistency this year. We want to make sure that ultimately at the end of the year we're having home playoff games versus road playoff games, and ultimately we want to try to win any and every competition that we're in this year.
It's always curious because like it's super cool seeing the relationship that Juan had with the community, with the fan base, and we kind of more or less asked this to Danny of like, it's not trying to replace that. It's not trying to say replicate it. Let's run it back exactly how he did last season. He's going to make this with his own touch, in his own image. How do you like see that relationship between Danny with the front office and Danny with the fans and the community being fostered? Because I think that was something really special that Juan and everyone built. It's going to be really interesting to see how that takes place this year.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't want Danny to be anyone else but Danny, right? We want him to be authentic to who he is. You look at his career path, right? Mm-hmm. And he's got a really unique story. And, coming over from England, going to high school in Tempe, working with different coaches, different levels. He's got different experiences, right? And he's had a different vantage point all these years. So what you're going to get from Danny is truly who Danny is. And I know that without a doubt, Danny cares about the community. He cares about everything else that goes with this organization, the people that are a part of that. And he's so respectful. And so I think, I don't want to tell anyone how someone's going to act. I think he's going to show you guys. But he's a very genuine person. He's a very respectful and professional person. And, when he talks to you, he looks you in the eye and he cares about you. And I think our fans will see that. I think our sponsors will see that. And I know our players have seen that. And I think just being authentic is all we're asking him to be. And I think who he is will come out for everyone to see.
Love that. And it's pretty cool seeing what this year's going to unfold and kind of choosing your own adventure. You guys can choose your own adventure as well with our friends at Arizona Lottery. Our friends at Arizona Lottery, they can help you choose your own adventure with their Arizona Adventure promotion. There are 3 ways to play and win big. Number 1, play their Arizona Adventure Lottery tickets featuring 3 iconic landscapes. Remember those 3 landscapes, Owen?
Ooh.
Can you give me one?
Picacho.
Can you give me another? That is one of them.
So you're really kicking in on
you got Picacho Peak, Monument Valley, and Camelback Mountain. These tickets, these scratches have prizes up to $50,000. That's one way to play. Second way, you can also check in at geolocated adventures in 10 destinations across the state, from Flagstaff to Yuma. Plot twist, I just did one over the weekend, actually. Little Piestewa Peak off the 51. Super easy to do. And then number 3, you can enter those tickets to win $1 million for your chance to play cash and travel prizes. But make sure you guys enter. Go to azadventure.com for details and directions. You can check in at these destinations. Very easy to do. Again, play for a chance to win $1 million in cash and Arizona travel prizes. Also, another way to win and do some cool things, you can get those Arizona Lottery tickets at Circle K. Circle K, proud partner not only of PHNX, but also Phoenix Rising. We love that. We love a nice synergy with the partners, all that stuff. Circle K, join their Inner Circle program. Do it today. It is America's thirst stop. They have their new free membership program. You guys already heard me talk about this for months now. If you haven't done it, what are you doing? Go sign up for the Inner Circle. It's free. All you need is a phone number. Save 25% off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups, plus 3 cents off per gallon every day after that. You could even get up to 5 cents per gallon. That's what I'm doing. You also get every 6 kind of item free: pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, those Polar Pops. You already know. Download the Circle K Inner Circle program today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for more details.
Max, you always get those cringy transitions.
No, dude, it was really smooth. I thought I really had that one.
I don't know about that, Max.
I always think I have that one.
He always does. He always
I
does.
teed him up for one transition earlier. I think Owain picked up on it.
I usually pick up on those, but I must have missed
Max,
it.
you've got.
I'll have to watch the tape afterwards.
I'll tell you what. We'll have a look now. We'll go back a little bit and look at the last season. And this is looking a bit broader now. Looking at the league in this one. One of the stories from USL last season, of course, Oakland Roots having their fundraising. They open up their books to an extent as a result of that. And between the men's and women's team, they're losing, about $10 million a year? Is the current picture across USL Championship as a whole really that dire?
I mean, it's a good question. All right. Obviously, they open their books to that. And I don't want to spill financial details, nor do I have them for other teams around the league. But what I will tell you is that sitting in the rooms, with the owners of this league, sitting in the room with our own owners and seeing the ambition that they have, this is not for the faint of heart, right? From an ownership perspective, it's not, no one's printing money based on their USL franchise right now. And so there's various reasons that these owners are committed to this, right? Whether it be for community assets, whether it be to pass down from generation to generation. There's a lot of different things. But what I will tell you is that the investment dollars, the enthusiasm, the excitement for the sport at whatever level is really high right now. And owners continue to show up. And like I talked about, in order to get better facilities, in order to take better care of players, in order to put new stadiums out, and track different players from around the world, it costs money to do that, and we're seeing that improvement year over year, and that's more money's being put into this. So yeah, it's there's some tough conversations, there's some tough things that happen, but ultimately it's a really committed group to continue to push this thing forward.
So if you have Oakland at about 10 million and you were to talk scales, then roughly where are we comparing things with Phoenix Rising?
I mean, that's a good question, but we're certainly not in that ballpark with Oakland. I have a lot of respect for Oakland and what they're doing. I know they're working on a new stadium plan right now, and that's a big deal for clubs. In order to have their own stadium, they can be in control of things. And you guys have seen with us, we've picked up and put down our stadium a couple times now. And in part, for various reasons, but being able to control whether it be the food and beverage operation or bring on some full-time staff or part-time staff or game day staff for security, to be able to utilize the facility for things outside of the men's soccer team, right? Those are all things that can happen. So you're not paying rent to other people for things. You could put some more permanent infrastructure in place. So I think every team is unique, right? We were fortunate. I mean, since I joined the team, we had our own home, right, where we had somewhere to train, somewhere to play in the same spot. That's unique. I think that's what makes what our ownership group has done now 3 times, really special. But ultimately, I can tell you that the appetite and the excitement at the ownership level to keep doing this is really high. And we strive to figure out different ways, right? This is a business, to try to generate some revenue in order to keep this thing going and ultimately put more money back into this, right? Whether that be at the youth levels, at the professional levels. But yeah, you guys got a peek behind the curtain, and it probably surprised a lot of people. But ultimately, it doesn't derail what Oakland or other clubs around this league, or what Phoenix Rising is trying to do as an organization.
You mentioned, right, you guys have definitely have your own stadium. You definitely have had to build, pick up and move a couple times. Going into last year, right, where you guys established at this where you guys are at 30th in Washington for really for the foreseeable future now. Being in the first year, right, definitely feeling it out a bit, figuring out what works, what doesn't. We've seen this kind of landscape shift within soccer. You can look at it from the U.S. perspective. You can look at it from a global perspective. Attendance is always important, but also there's different ways people are consuming the game, whether that's on broadcast, whether that's in clips, whatever. long story short, it's going to be interesting, right? This year, the second year in the building. How do you guys look to balance, getting people to the games, enjoying the like fan experience, while also knowing people are consuming, games in a different way?
Yeah, it's challenging. We're in a crowded marketplace, very crowded marketplace. And I was sitting with someone today, and they asked how I felt sitting in this very spot, a year ago. And I told them that the spot I was sitting at, which was at the stadium, didn't even exist. It wasn't even there yet, right? So the transition, the uncertainty, whether it be for season tickets or communication or theme nights or sponsorship assets or what to communicate to the press, all those things were really difficult if you rewind the clock, 12 months. And that set us back, right? There's nothing more than I want is a full stadium. Like that's what we all want, and we want to do that. And in fact, we want to outgrow that stadium. That's the ambitions that I have, that we have in the front office, at ownership. We want to continue to push it and do that. In order to do that, we need to create a good fan experience. We need to make it affordable. We need to put a good product on the field. We need to continue to try to be innovative in different ways. So as we look to do that, going into year 2, we have a little bit more stability. We didn't have to worry about, where we're playing, as those are real, things that were on our minds last year, which led to, a lot of the uncertainty. So I think as we build this thing, I would say back up again, we have to, continue to introduce the team, the brand, the organization to more and more people. And whether that be through their exposure out at a rec soccer field, or that be turning on the television, or hearing something on the radio, or seeing an ad on social media, or coming to a game, we want people to have a good experience with Phoenix Rising. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we have good people. We need to make sure that we're investing our dollars in the right spot, because we don't have an unlimited marketing and advertising budget. We can't do the same things. We don't have the same amenities as the other teams in town. So what can we do to differentiate ourselves from other organizations, other entertainment, frankly, right? Whether that's going to the movies, going on a hike, going to a baseball game, basketball games. Those are all the real challenges that we have as an organization. So I think when you look at going into, this upcoming season, right, we drop prices, single game prices in certain areas, right? That was because we want to introduce Phoenix Rising to more people, right? So I think at a time where we all know costs are going up, where we all know, what it costs to go to the movies these days, you can come out to a Phoenix Rising game. I truly believe it's the best value. I'm biased, of course, but we want to introduce this, because I think once people come out to a game, they're going to see really talented players. There's not a bad seat in the house. I think they're going to walk away from it and have a good time and want to come back. So that's the goal. So obviously we have to spend money in the right spots to get people there. We need to align with the right partners that people want us to associate with, and that want to also help build Phoenix Rising. And we need to recruit players that want to be good stewards in the community and be out there and connecting dots, right? And then they come out and they want to tell their friends about it. So ultimately, you look at affordability. I think that we beat a lot of other entertainment options in this valley when you look at affordability. Look at accessibility, right? Something that's really important to us again is we're working through it and going to renew the partnership with Valley Metro again, right? So you have the ability to. I had someone approach me at our first preseason game this year and tell me, with the new light rail extension, how great it is that they can actually, walk, a short distance, be on the light rail and be at the game, and don't even have to get in their car. That made me feel really good. It was just one person, but hopefully there's that multiplies. So having that accessibility. So I think there's never a perfect location, right? People are going to be upset with you if you weren't in the North Valley, if you weren't in the Southeast. But I think that where we're at for the foreseeable future, as you said, is the perfect spot, right? We have the ability to expand. We have the ability to grow. We're central. We have, public transportation that you can get to and from. We have a lot of freeways in and around us. So I think that we're in a really good spot to keep growing. So I think accessibility is something, and then you look at how you can watch our games, right? Obviously, we want people to come and help create that environment and buy tickets, but perhaps they get exposure for the first time watching us on television. So given the fact that we're over the air now, I think that in that reach that we have now, last year was our first year of our partnership with Arizona Family. You see the Suns who are now with them. We're going to get some more games on at more prominent times with them. I think that's another touch point for us. So accessibility is something that we continue to tell, not just coming to the game, but also consuming us on television, right? So I think those are our 2 points. And I think we have to roll out some different packages this year, to get someone a commitment, 17, 20 games a year, is a big commitment for someone that's never been exposed to Phoenix Rising. So I think we rolled out a flex pack this year where you can get 10 tickets and you can use them in any way, shape, or form. Whether you want to bring 9 friends to the game, you can go to one game, or you want to go to 10 different games by yourself. Any mix and match, however you want to do that. So I think you have that. You have the college pass. I think those are all different ways that we're trying to price it, right? And then once people come to the game, right, the purists, it's a balance. Just being honest, it's a balance with the purists where there's not the mascots and the bells and whistles that you see. I mean, you go to a Suns game and you go to a Diamondbacks game, and there's so much going on, whether it be ads or entertainment or trivia. It's hitting you from every angle. And I brought my kids to a game, and to a Suns game, and they're like, holy cow, that was unbelievable. There was so much, it was just energy, right? So then you're trying to balance that you don't want to become, I won't name any names, but you don't want to be other teams that are putting too much PA reads and different things. So there's a balance, because who's the consumer, right? We want more people to be exposed to this, come out and have a good time and do that. So trying to find different ways towards the latter part of last year. How can we incorporate more stuff pregame into the video board? How can we do some more fan features on the video board? What can we do with cameras to get more crowd interaction? Those are all things that we're looking at trying to do, because it is important that when people come there, they have a good experience, right? So we don't have the shaded concourses. We don't have all those things. So how can we do that so when they come out, they have a really good time? Because I tell you what, when the sun goes down and it's still July, and if you're from Arizona, you come out, it's not miserable to come out to a game. And I think there's a lot of people that have seen that. So I think we just have to continue to introduce Phoenix Rising to more people. They come out, they have a good time. And I think that's what we're going to continue to listen. We do surveys after almost every game. We do that for a reason. And we sit here on Monday and Tuesday mornings and we talk about that. What can we do? How quickly can we implement some of those changes? Because, man, what we thought we were going to do didn't work. And we need to be able to do that and be nimble enough to do that. And so I think that's the beauty of being at a smaller organization, is that we all kind of have our finger on the pulse. I have an understanding of what's going on. We all read social media. We all ask for surveys. We're all interactive, and we're trying to find out what we can do to continue to create a better product and a better experience. And so we got a long way to go. We've had some success over the years, but we certainly know that we need everyone's feedback and support to continue to build this and move this forward, but making sure that we're affordable, making sure that we're accessible, and making sure that we continue to listen. And I think if we do those things, we continue to do those things, I think that we can grow.
So, obviously there've been changes in the footballing landscape in general around the world in terms of how much importance you assign to getting people through the door on match days. Is that something that, say, bringing in another 2,000 people a game makes a substantial difference to where the club is financially?
Massively, right? We're not in a position where we're getting media dollars, right? It's just the reality of who we are, where we're at right now. So when you look at Major League Baseball, obviously you look at the top leagues all over the world, the money they get from their broadcast partners is substantial. And so we're in the events business, right? Right now we have 17, to 20 games when you throw preseason. Hopefully we add 4 to that at home in the postseason. And you look at that. So our business model is built on the live event. So we need to have people in the stadium, right? People in the stadium, they pay the money to come to the stadium. Then you have all the numbers and you see how much the average person spends on food and beverage and you see parking and merchandise, and you start adding that up. That's impactful. So and then sponsors, right? Sponsors want to associate with brands that have a good experience and ultimately put a good product out there. And so, yes, sponsorship isn't directly related to the game day revenue, but the game day revenue is what drives this. This is where the revenue is coming from for our organization. And the more people that come into that stadium, the more support we have. It certainly helps us out tremendously, much more so for us as an organization and us as a league than other leagues around the world that are getting those big checks from those media outlets.
If you look at the Valley, though, as a whole, now we've got a pretty large Latino population here in the Valley. And when you look at studies from people like Boston Consulting Group and those kind of people, they come out and say that a lot of the growth of the sports industry lately is driven by the Latino population here in the US. What is the club doing at the moment to try and really tap into that market?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of the community initiatives that we do as a club, and you look at Jason on our staff, running through that, and you look at the school programs that we're out there. I mean, we're out there quite a bit, whether it's doing free clinics for kids in underserved communities, or it's appearing at schools and doing reading programs. So I think at the grassroots level, that's where you have to be, and that's where we want to be as an organization. And you look at the amount of time that our players go out into the community. That's our best asset, and having our players go out there and interact with those kids. And I think you hope those kids become fans for life, right? And ultimately, that's where it has to start. I think if you don't do that, then people can see right through it. So I think that authentic nature of our players, and they love being out there, and you see that. And I think you could see, look at Jose Hernandez, right? And you see what he did to his school coming from Maryvale, and what that meant to him, and meant to the kids in that community. So I think being out in the community is really important. It's important to us. It's important to our partners. That's why brands want to align with us, is because of our ability to interact and have that touch point with the Hispanic community in particular, like you mentioned. I think how we market, how we advertise is one thing, but also how we represent ourselves on social media, right? Because you can do a bilingual ad, but how do you communicate on social media, right? Because that's a little bit more authentic. So I think you probably are starting to see, and you have seen over the last 6-12 months, whether that be bilingual content on our social media. I think that's important as well. I think we had a radio station here, a local radio station, calling our games last year as well. So I think we have to continue to do those types of things and continue to build that up and earn the trust, whether whoever it may be. We have to earn the trust of our fans that we're authentic, that we're driven, that we care about the community. And I think those are the things. I think it's really, really emphasizing the grassroots level, and then finding different ways to access and hosting events. Now that we finally control our Stadium 365, how can we host more events at the facility? Whether that be wellness checks and clinics. How can we truly be a part of the community? And this last 12 months was so crazy, getting it off the ground, that we didn't have a chance to do that. But those are the conversations that we've been having this past year.
No, it's interesting, right? I mean, a lot of I'm hearing it's finding new ways to kind of get people in the door, whether that's people who they've been fans before or they're first timers. It's going to be their first experience. I guess it's not like a blanket question or answer, because I get you guys are probably focusing on everyone, right? But like, where do you guys see your kind of focus this season? Is that to like convert fans who it's like, hey, maybe you've been to like half our games or a couple games and we want you to become diehard supporters, come to more of them? Or is it more of trying to just get people to their first game?
It's both.
Yeah.
It really is both. It's a good question. It's people that have been out here. How can we get them to come out more? It's people that have never been out there. Why? Trying to understand the why. Are they not aware of it? Is it not the sport? Is it the price point? Is it what are the reasons, right? And so I think how can we overcome those, whatever those obstacles are, and create opportunities that they do want to come out and experience it. Because again, I'm very confident that if someone comes out to a match, that they're going to enjoy it, and they're going to want to tell someone else. So hopefully they want to post it on social media, and word of mouth is the best form of advertising. So we need to get people that have never been out to a Phoenix Rising game. We need to get people that are supporters of the sport of outside of the country for other teams. We need to get people that are fans of sports in general. We need to get people that want to come out and perform on the field at halftime and with their dance team or their karate or their youth soccer team, and they want to come out and do that, and they're like, oh, this has been a really cool experience, and now Phoenix Rising means something to them. And once that people get that connectivity with a fan, then I think you create something really special. And we've been fortunate to really, I think, have that connectivity with our fans over the years, and which is why I think that we have the best fans in the league, because of that connectivity. You see over the years us celebrate trophies together, celebrate milestones together, challenge each other, hold each other accountable. I think I like that pressure. I enjoy that. So I think trying to find different ways to connect with the community, and that's why we're active in the community with camps and clinics, and that's why we have 8,000 plus kids in our youth club. We want to get them, exposed to the brand. That's why we run different specials aligned with different partners. Those are all different reasons that we're out there trying to find that connection, and hopefully, as you said, get them to buy a ticket and come out and experience a match.
As you look though at existing fans as well, one thing that often comes up, and you get people will gripe about it a little bit, is that communication between the front office and the fan base. And we've seen it on times in the past on social media to an extent. Years ago you've got Sam, you have Jose more recently, who's now left as well. But this season, how are you planning on kind of bridging that gap?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about some of the things. We talk about accessibility. We talk about our ability to be nimble as an organization, but our engagement. We have to really be engaged. And I think it's something we talk about as our responsiveness, in different ways. And we have to remember, people consume, communication. Email is still kind of the king. You see the response rate, you see the click rate, you see the communication rate. At least on our side of things, email is a way a lot of people like to consume it, more so than I would have thought that text message would be a little bit more but the route. But ultimately, I think we want to have more happy hours. We want to do more events at the stadium. We want to do more open training sessions. I think those are always opportunities where we want our fans to come out, and people can ask me anything. They can ask our front office anything. I think honesty and transparency is the way to operate as an organization. And again, people may not agree with what it is, but there's reasoning and rationale behind the decisions that we make, and it's done in a collective nature and trying to understand what we're doing and where we're going when we do that. So I think we want to make it a point of emphasis to do more of these. We started doing a little bit more of those at the end of the year last year. The open training's tough. I wish we could do more of it. I know Danny and the coaches wish we could do more of it. That training at 9 o'clock in the morning is tough, and then the time where kids and families can have a better chance to come out is the summertime. So I think you'll see we'll continue to try to do those, maybe even trying to find some evenings to try to balance that out. I think we want to get with our season ticket members a little bit more and do some more events. You see some of those things like we did last year at Dave & Buster's. We want to try to find some more of those opportunities, and then also host some things at the stadium and utilize that there. I think there's some things that we could do around the stadium with our fans to dress it up a little bit, that we have some ideas, but ultimately, whether that's direct messages, on social media to me, I know there's a lot of people that have my cell phone, which is great as well. Or it's reaching out to the club directly. I think it's very important for our organization to be responsive in a timely fashion and reach out to us directly, and we can be better, right? And you talked about some people that were very good and very out there all the time, and those were good examples and things that we should continue to take note and try to be more responsive in a public light. I think it might help some people as well, because if one person has a question publicly, that's probably someone else has that same question privately, right?
You heard it here. We'll be dropping Bobby's cell phone right in the chat. No, totally kidding. One of the things that definitely came up during the offseason, right, is the decision to not move forward with a Super League team at this time. Definitely a lot of people had the investment and the excitement when the news kind of first was percolating months and months ago. And then, fans are kind of just like, okay, kind of announcement seemingly came out of nowhere. How do you guys kind of address, some disappointment that could be felt by people, and where do you guys foresee a potential, Super League team moving forward?
Yeah, no, I was disappointed personally. I have a young daughter that's playing soccer as well. I want her to, look up to a professional women's team in this market as well. So for us, it was when the USL approached us and asked us about being one of the early organizations that participate in that. As Owain mentioned, you're right. Look at investment, and you look at how much it takes to run this operation. It was important for us to bring in some lead investors and some additional capital to get this off the ground, and we laid some deadlines and let them let the league know, and obviously we can't share all those things, but some of those things were in and around the infrastructure and understand that, because we know what it takes to operate a team, meaning you need sponsors, you need, ticketing partners, you need to have apparel providers, all the things that go with it that maybe not be as out there. And of course we had a head start just because we have a lot of those things operating and existing, but we needed to understand the structure of the league, how many games are going to be played, what other teams are going to be participating in this, just general rules and general support staff at the league level. And we didn't get a lot of those answers. And at some point, it would be hard for us to go commit to a sponsor and say, this is what this is going to look like, when we didn't know what it was going to look like. It would be hard for us to hire, because if you're going to hire someone to be a sporting director or a head coach, or on the business side, chances are that you're likely taking them from an existing job to do that. And we didn't have certainty that this was going to go. At some point, we had to make a decision and say this was going to be our deadline. And if some of these things aren't in place for us to hire, talent in order to come in and operate whatever facet and responsibilities they had, we needed to make sure we had the runway and the timeline to do that. And I also would say ultimately, so I would say, one, infrastructure, making sure that we felt like it was going to be, a situation that was sustainable, that was going to be long lasting. We've all seen things or teams or organizations that have come and go. We didn't want to be a part of that, right? So we wanted to see some infrastructure. The second thing is trust. And I think you saw it probably in what we put out there. There was some things that came out, and you guys found out about it at the same time we did. And we felt as an organization within this league that has invested a lot of money, a lot of time to try to raise the profile, the standard. You look at the players that we brought into this organization, the facilities that we've bought or that we've invested in. We felt that trust was broken. So I think establishing an infrastructure and a trust in the relationship, and I think those two things weren't in place, and ultimately, impacted some people that wanted to, support and invest in the organization and the endeavor. And so with that being said, it was just the timing wasn't right. And again, I wish it was different personally. I wish it was different as an organization, but ultimately that's what happened and where it went. It doesn't take away from what we believe in, and that's the growth of the sport at the the women's level, whether it be at the youth levels all the way to the professional levels, right? And I think we're really proud of what we've done at the youth levels over the years. And you look at the amount of girls that have gotten scholarships from our youth club, that's something that we're really proud of. And we know we have to take the steps at some point, but right now just wasn't the right time for us.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that elaboration. I know that's something that, people only know what they know of. Like, it's nice to hear straight from the source. So appreciate that, man. What is the right time for investing is going to our friends at OG's Brands. Friends at OG's Brands, that's the time. It is now. Get in on their new OG's gummies. They have 2 new products that have just launched, the OG's Naturals and the Big OG's in those natural, sweet clementine flavor. They are vegan, for those of you who look for that vegan option out there. But again, it's made with that PEGS RSO, that Rick Simpson oil. It's great. Little balance of that THC. Very easy to kind of enjoy, have a little loose time in life. So learn more at ogsbrands.com. Again, you can find them on all socials at OG's Brands. Must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. Also check out our friends at Four Peaks. Four Peaks, they got their new Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. It's fantastic. I've had it multiple times at their 8th Street pub. It's great. They're out of waste management, all that kind of good stuff. We have some fun stuff going on with Four Peaks that we will be letting you guys know in the coming weeks. But for now, Four Peaks, check out their Bad Birdie Juicy Golden Ale. Again, it's a collab between 2 Arizona brands. Gotta love it. Go check it out at Four Peaks Pub, their 8th Street pub. Again, find them on Instagram at Four Peaks Pub and at Four Peaks Brew. Must be 21 years or older to enjoy Four Peaks responsibly.
Right. So this one's been, I think, a bit of an elephant in the room as we move on from this. And obviously, these past few days have really brought it back to the forefront. But the US Open Cup and all of the discussion of what the future of that tournament looks like, even as soon as this season. What is your opinion on how we've seen MLS and US soccer go about what we've seen in the last few days?
Yeah, it's very fluid. I've been on multiple calls this weekend, trying to understand positions what's taking place, and ultimately, if you take a step back and you just look at cup competitions around the world, and you look what it does for the sport, you look what it does for the communities that are not as mature or don't have an organization that is, is rooted as the history or the investment or the infrastructure, whatever it may be. And you look what those cup competitions do, right? They help grow the sport. And ultimately, that's what I believe is what a cup competition is. You see the upsets, you see the Davids go into and beat the Goliaths, right? And it's really cool to see those types of things, and that helps grow, right? You even look at this past year, and you look at some of the teams in our league, that Pittsburgh's and Sacramento a couple years ago, and you see the turnout for the games, the league games, after they go deep into the run. You look at FC Cincinnati, right? And that organization and what that meant to them and their deep cup run. So you see examples of that here in our own market in the US over the past couple of years. You see that clearly in other countries around the world. So it's a competition that to me helps stem growth in soccer communities around the country, and I would love for that to continue that way. What it looks like moving forward, I couldn't tell you. Personally, I'm disappointed in U.S. soccer. That's the honest truth. I obviously don't know all the details and all the intimate stuff that's taking place, but from my vantage point, I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed that it's even gotten this public, because to me it's setting us backwards. We're focused on something else that's taking away on us focusing, helping grow the sport. And that's disappointing for me. For us as an organization, we want to compete and we want to win trophies, right? And so the opportunity to compete, I don't know what the format's going to look like this year. I don't know what the format's going to look like next year. But I do know that if we have an opportunity as an organization to participate in it, we're going to participate, and we're going to go out there and we're going to try to win games, because I think our community, our fans like to come out and watch Phoenix Rising, and they support Phoenix Rising. And so whatever game we're playing, whatever opponent that is, whatever competition, we're going to go out and we're going to give it our best. And that's a competition that we haven't had a lot of success in over the years, that we need to have some success in, and something that irritates me, just the way it's always gone down. But ultimately, to answer your question, I couldn't tell you. I couldn't sit here. I mean, I got off a call 2 hours ago with people around the league, and there's still a lot of question marks. And I probably got 3 or 4 calls and emails that have happened over the last 30 minutes since I've been sitting here with you. Everyone's talking about it, right? Publicly, everyone's talking about it at the league level. We're all trying to understand it, but that's because it's really important to us. It's really important to our club. It's important to the clubs around the league. It's important to our league that we have this opportunity to go out there and compete and showcase our clubs, our organizations, our growth, our development, and help other markets grow and develop as well. So I don't have, you have everything I know, and I'm disappointed. I'm frustrated, but I do know if in whatever format exists this year, we want to compete in that format, and we want to go out and win it.
Looking ahead further, then, of course, we know it's been a stated goal of Rising in the past, at least, about making their way into MLS and taking Phoenix Rising, the club, into MLS. But we've seen, of course, in recent years that the trend has changed almost with MLS and the way that they're going around expansion. It's gone away from the promotions of FC Cincinnati, Nashville, Minnesota, and more towards replacing, almost, when you look at Austin, St. Louis, and now San Diego as well. When you see that trend, does that make you think that maybe the window for Phoenix Rising, the club, to go to MLS may have passed?
I don't. And it is sad. It's disappointing as well to see that, because there's good people, there's great fans of those organizations that you mentioned. But for us, I have to just look at Phoenix Rising and what we've done. And I think you look at, our ownership group and the relationships that they have, right? And the relationships that we've established, and you see the support. Think about, the mayor, riding with the trophy, and that event we had to, in downtown Phoenix. You see that type of support from the community is fantastic. So I think you look at relationships, people that, a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes to foster those relationships. I think you look at the size of our youth club. You look at the partnerships that we've had. You look, at the product on the field. I know that it's not based on sporting merit, but we try to run a really professional organization, right? That kind of continues to set the standard. And then ultimately you look at our fans. And I think that's the most important thing. Again, I'm biased, but all those markets you mentioned, they don't have our fans. And I think that's what we have that separates ourselves, and that we go back to connectivity, right? And the connection that this brand, Phoenix Rising, means to so many people in this community, and the support that our fans have given us. It's that support that ultimately makes me feel that we're insulated from that, and that it goes through Phoenix Rising. And we're really very ambitious as an organization. Where we go from here, I don't know, but I know that we're going to keep pushing the limits. I told you I want our organization to outgrow this stadium. I want to build a more permanent stadium. I want to do all of these. I want to continue to grow, add teams, add more kids at the grassroots level. So I think our ambition doesn't stop. Where it goes and what that pathway looks like, I couldn't tell you, but we're going to continue to try to challenge to get better every day. And ultimately, I think the fan base that we have and the support that we have from this community makes us really unique and makes us different.
So if Don Garber was to say, give a press conference, don't believe that this is happening now. I'm just tossing it out there. But say he came out tomorrow and said, of course, that, there's going to be a team in Phoenix. It's going to have nothing to do with the existing Phoenix Rising. What preparations are you guys on the club end putting in place that if that day and that situation was ever to actually come about, you'd be confident that you wouldn't go the way of San Diego Loyal?
It's a good question. We're aware that that's happened. Yes, we've had discussions about that. But again, just to go back to what I just said, I think to prepare for something, we haven't focused a lot of energy on that, because what our energy has been focused on is developing those relationships, right? We talk about whether it be with city officials and state officials to our partners and that support that we have, and then ultimately our fan base. I think that's what our focus and our energy is on, is continuing to connect and introduce Phoenix Rising to as many people. And we're confident that this organization will continue to be as strong as that support that we're able to establish and connect with. And so ultimately, it's a good question. I don't have a good answer for you, but our energy and our time isn't focused on that what if. It's looking at ourselves in the mirror and what can we do to continue to better ourselves and establish more relationships and continue to build this thing in a way that it lasts far longer than Bobby Dulle or anyone else that's at this organization right now.
I mean, Owen, you kind of hit him with a lot of the what could happen in the future, but something to look forward to in the future. It's this upcoming season, which I guess is kind of in the present, but we're getting there. What are you guys looking forward to? Like, what is the thing when you think of like, bam, 2024 season? This is why you guys, people should take notice.
I think we kind of hit a restart last year, right? A restart from our facility, that location. We hit a restart from the players, right? You talked about 22 new players coming in the roster. For the most part, I know this, Juan was there, for a few games at the latter part of 2022. But it was a restart kind of across the board. And so I look at first off the field, kind of as we talked about, we were able to settle in a little bit this year and weren't worried about some of the stuff as it relates to infrastructure. So I look at us taking some steps forward from the game day experience, from partnerships and activations. And we're excited about some of the partners that we're going to be announcing here in the next couple of weeks. That support from the corporate community has been fantastic and continues to grow. And then I look at the on the field stuff. I just think we should start stronger. We should be a little bit more consistent. We have a good foundation. You look at 14 players that are still on this roster that were with us last year, and then the parts that we brought in. So I think consistency and building on that foundation is what I'm most excited about, both on and off the field, to see how we can pick up where we left off, how we can continue to get better each and every day, both on and off the field, and continue to build is what I'm most excited about.
Okay. As I say, I mean, now you guys are defending champions. What is that? I know we kind of talked about it a bit, especially earlier, but like, what does that mean as we're getting into like the start of the season? Is that it's pressure? Is that like, how's that feel? Is that exciting? Is that like raising the standard? Like, what does that feel like for you?
Absolutely. I mean, again, you could have asked me the last 7 seasons, but prior to the season, what the expectation was, and I would tell you the same thing, right? But ultimately, we're gonna get everyone's best shot, and again, you could say the cliche, right? Is it easier to get to the top or stay in the top, right? And I think consistency is something. I've said that word a few times throughout this conversation. I want to see more of, and we've consistently, outside of 1 year where we really fell off, right, have had some sustained success, and I'm proud of that as an organization. And we need to keep having more and more success, and we need to do things that we've never done before. And this year is no different. And something that we've never done is, whether it be a cup competition, is make a run in that, or win a trophy here at home. And we want to do that in front of our fans, and that the last trophy, obviously we did that through I think a partial crowd a couple of years ago, and somehow Tampa got sick during that celebration. But no, we want to do it again. We want to do it at home. I mean, we want to do it with more consistency. I think you look at some of the teams of the past, of Phoenix Rising teams of the past, and teams when they come in and it's hot and they don't want to be here and there's a big crowd and we score early. And they're like, oh, here we go. Like, that, just scared. And we want to put that fear back into teams that we're going to do that. And so I think we want to win with some style, and we want to be consistent. I'm not going to sit here and make predictions or say that we're not going to run into some bumps and have some challenges this year. But I think consistency is something that we have to see more of this year.
Okay. We've got a couple of fan questions that we have been sent. I tell you what, we'll preface that though, because it does link to one of them, by saying that we've been Bobby, you came with some special things as well that I'm hearing are going to be revealed more publicly.
We're rolling out some different merchandise lines this year. I know.
The little I don't know if you can see it on there, but we got the the patch. On the sleeve.
That
nice.
You're not holding the jersey there, but
no,
you're
it's not a jersey.
You're holding some stuff that's part of a merchandise line that we're going to be unveiling, our champions line that we can roll out this year. And we, of course, will be the one team this year that has the unique USL patch on the sleeve. So that particular shirt you got has that trophy on there. And we're excited about that. Next week we're having our jersey reveal. That's always a fun time of the year, the opportunity for our fans to connect with some of the players they haven't met yet. See some of the new merchandise that we're rolling out, and then also obviously see our new kits for the year. So I think it'll be a fun night, but I think those are some things that we're trying to do a little bit different this year. I know a couple years ago we did a player collection and some different things on the merchandise side of things. So we're excited about what we're going to do on the apparel side of things, maybe find a few more collaborations, and again, having some time to focus on more of the business operation than figuring out where we're going to play has been instrumental into our planning and what we got in store this year.
That's one of the things that some fans have brought up to us, especially in the past, is talking about the merchandising, and especially you come off that championship run at the end of last season and feeling as though there maybe wasn't quite enough out before Christmas, or you didn't actually manage to go out and find it out in physical locations very much. How do you think the club can work to really improve those kind of things?
Yeah, no, licensing our brand. And again, we talk about connectivity, how different ways for people to interact with the brand. One of those is walking through the store and seeing a Phoenix Rising shirt, right? So working on licensing program, we're in Dick's Sporting Goods now. So you can see some of our gear in Dick's Sporting Goods. We're working to get into other places as well. And trying to figure out ways for people to buy our merchandise more than just on game days or at the stadium, right? So it's a work in progress. Obviously, I would love personally if we were in every store and where people are shopping all over town, but we have to find different ways to connect. People are shopping in different ways. A lot of people are shopping these days without even going into a physical store, right? So how can we run some different, collaborations or different lines that might generate a response out of someone, you versus Max, right? So we got some different pieces of merchandise this year. Timing is tough, right? In the merchandise space and getting product and turning it around and also a quality product in a timely fashion. That's why what did come out right away was really basic. I can tell you that we'd love to get our jerseys out earlier and earlier. There's some challenges that go beyond our control with regards to that, but ultimately, we want to be better on the merchandise side of things. We want to be more accessible. We want to be out there in more locations. So fair feedback, the right feedback, and noted for sure.
Kit reveal, kit launch party will be Thursday, February 29th, 6 to 8:30 at the Marquee. Any hints? Anything you can drop our way? A little PHX Rising podcast exclusive?
Again, we'll have a trophy on the sleeve.
Okay.
Is it going to be red in the home kit?
Is there going to be red
in the home kit? Maybe.
Is there going to be red in the home kit? I think there'll be a little red.
Okay.
That's Phoenix Rising. So yeah, we'll have 2 kits. I know there was some questions in and around that, but we'll be unveiling 2 kits next Thursday night.
Okay.
They look good in them too.
Okay. I was gonna say the goalkeeper kits also very hard to beat from last year because those were phenomenal.
They were really good.
Yeah.
It's because we didn't have a black kit, and we had that black goalkeeper kit that was a really hot item.
That's
so
fair.
There was no black in our kit last year. I mean, obviously the stripes, but a predominant black kit. And our goalkeepers look good in that. I know they were always mad if they get the match preview and they didn't get to wear the black goalkeeper kit.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
I'll get another question I did see from some of our fans earlier as well. Obviously, USL looking at promotion and relegation. They still don't have a lot of concrete details on that, but just the broad concept of that, is that something that Phoenix Rising supports?
I think I don't have a lot of answers for it either from a league perspective, but I do know conversations on how we can continue to promote and advance our game and our league is very relevant, and whether that be promotion relegation, whether that be different forms of tournaments in the season, whether that cross the pond and look at other divisions and sport teams and leagues to come over and participate in competitions. There's a lot of things that the league and the teams are looking at to try to continue to grow. Promotion and relegation obviously is always buzzworthy, and we'd be having a different conversation today if that was what was going on in the US, but ultimately I think it's a good topic, it's a good conversation. I think the more teams that continue to pop up around the country is a good thing, and I just don't know if it will ever happen, but I do know that our league has hired third parties, is constantly gathering feedback from the clubs to see what we can do to evolve and ultimately generate more eyeballs on the clubs, right? Because if we can generate more eyeballs on the clubs, that means that more media outlets want to showcase our games, right? And if it's the chicken and the egg, if we're on a channel that gets more eyeballs, then we get more impressions, then the sponsors are going to say, oh, I'm going to be a part of that. I want to buy TV spots on that. How do I advertise and be a part of that? Which means more revenue in, right? More exposure. Oops, I'm knocking this mic around. More exposure, more opportunity to get people to come into the game, right? So ultimately, if there's things that we could do as a league that can help generate more awareness, we're going to look at it.
What is your theme night or giveaway that you're most looking forward to this year?
Well, man, that's a good question. I think it's really cool the first responders. We did a police and fire game last year before the game, and that was really cool. Again, it was really hot out. I could barely go out there to watch. I don't know how they were running around, but it was cool to see that. I think we want to do a little bit more with that. I think Hispanic Heritage Month is always fun. We want to do some of these things that we're doing. We're trying to do not just on one night, to extend it out for, you know, a little bit of a longer period of time, whether that be with a merchandise line, whether that be with some community initiatives that go along with it. So as you probably saw last week when we came out with the theme nights, it's a little less than normal, but we're also still working through some food and beverage specials that will be added to it. So we had to, you know, put some hooks out there to get more people to come out there. Without messing with the integrity of the game and flying helicopters and bringing, you know, swimming pools and different things happening in the middle of the game. But ultimately, I just, you know, what the first responders, the police and the fire, is something that's just kind of cool to see on my side of things. I like that.
Nice. You got anything else?
I think we're about out of time. We've gone over what we'd normally go.
I think we've peppered him with questions sufficiently. Yeah. No, man, this has been great. Thank you for coming through.
Great. Anytime. I appreciate what you guys are doing too. I know you guys fly around the country and support us, and it doesn't. We notice that. We appreciate that. Very unique. Again, what we do different than other clubs, and I say and we, like I'm the one doing it. You guys are doing it, so I shouldn't take any credit for it. But we really appreciate it, and it's nice to see you guys around and keep challenging us, keep asking the tough questions, and we'll keep trying to be as open and fair with you guys as well.
Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely have logged up so many miles, you know, traveling. You've done a fair bit yourself, right?
I haven't got in a small car in England with Owain one this off season too. So
yeah, but the small car, it was more Brandon.
It was the big guy in the car with you.
Big Brandon McCarthy in the front. With his knees up on his chest at that point, practically.
Thank God we had you that night, though, because we don't make it to the Arsenal game without you that night. So
wouldn't be the worst thing as a Spurs fan. All right. On that note, again, everyone, key reveal will be next Thursday, the 29th at the Marquee. Go there for key reveal, and also make sure to get you some swag for yourself. phxlocker.com. Got the Rise to the Top Champions t-shirt. Got PHNX stuff. It's always good stuff. So check it out, phxlocker.com. Diehards, get that discount as well on all merch. And keep up with everything we got going on here over at PHNX__rising, double the underscore.
And double the tattoo news coming soon.
Oh gosh, no, we are ending with that. I don't like that. Oh boy, you can follow me on Twitter at MaxDavidSimpson. You can follow Owen on Twitter at OJEvans18. Bobby, any socials you'd like to direct people to?
People can always like to direct message me at Bobby Dulle, but on my Twitter account. But I'm not as active on social media. I see it, I read it, I acknowledge it. But yeah, feel free to reach out, direct message, and I will. I'll get back to you, or as I said, reach out to me on my cell phone too, as it happens.
We will not. No, we will rescind that in the chat. No, totally kidding. But yeah, no, it's all the place to follow. And yeah, of course, follow the club at PHX Rising FC. And yeah, it's a great interview. Check us out. We will be back to you guys on Thursday. Back to Thursday shows, much to the chagrin of Jacob Franklin behind the Mac as he's giving me that old stare down. But yes, we'll see you guys Thursday, 6 p.m. It is a beautiful game, but it's way more beautiful when this season kickoff is right around the corner, folks. See you guys on Thursday.
We all silly like the mayor.